If you're like me or most of us that collect magic books, then you understand the frustration at all of the books that you have around you that you don't ever get to read. Or maybe you've started to dig into your magic library but felt completely overwhelmed by the volume of tricks, sleights, and secrets in these books. What if I told you that with the right tools you could not only master your magic library but turn it into the ultimate weapon to make you a better magician? In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 game-changing tools that have helped me with my magic library, and I'm confident will help you as you seek to go from overwhelmed to unstoppable. The first thing that I think can help you as a tool for your magic library is to have a conducive environment. Maybe that doesn't exist, so you might have to get creative with how you make that. But the idea is you want a quiet space, one that has the magic books that you want to read there, and it's a place where you're comfortable sitting and reading for a while. For me, I have a number of spots throughout my house that fit this bill. My office here has all of my books in it, so if I need easy access to a reference work or something else that I'm looking into, I can quickly and easily get my hands on it. But for you, it might be someplace like a living room, or maybe that space doesn't exist in your house. It might be an actual library where things are fairly quiet, or your favorite coffee shop where you can get a nice hot beverage and put on some headphones to shut out all the distractions. Wherever it happens to be, make sure that you also bring with you the props that you might need for the book that you're reading. So if you're reading a typical magic book, which is usually a book of card tricks, then I recommend that at the very minimum, you have a deck of playing cards with you. That way, when you read a trick that sounds interesting to you, you can immediately take out the cards and start to play around and see if this might work for you. And if that's going to be the case, that you are going to walk through these tricks and use your hands for things other than holding the book open flat, then you may also want some kind of book stand in your environment. Now, the reason that I'm considering this a tool is because once you have a place that you can go and you associate in your mind with reading magic books, it's going to help you to get in that frame of mind to read magic books when you enter that space. Let me know down in the comments below, where's your favorite spot to read magic books? This next tool is one of my absolute favorites. I use this one all the time and it has so many different uses, and I really didn't even think about it until a few years ago. I'm talking about the venerable Post-it note. Post-it notes are one of the greatest tools for anyone reading and learning from books. Here's why. I use these to do all kinds of things. First of all, I would suggest that you can use them as cross-references in the book. So when you're reading something and you decide, oh yeah, I've seen another trick or another sleight that I think works well here or could replace the sleight that they've taught, then write down the name and where you can find that other sleight and slap it in the book. Of course, it also makes a great bookmark because now you can add notes and not be afraid to damage some sort of fancy placeholder. But I think where this technique really shines is as an alternative to writing in your books. I don't really write in my books. I've done it a handful of times, and every time I've pretty much regretted doing it. So now if I have a thought that I want to jot down, I just put it on one of these sticky pieces of paper and then put that in the book. I've shared this suggestion before, and I'll warn you, as others have, that this can cause long-term damage if you leave it in a book. That glue on the back of the Post-it note is really not intended to be there permanently, so it is possible that some of that sticky residue could mess up or damage the pages of your book. But if you're thinking of this as an alternative to writing in your book, then in my opinion, it does far less damage than what a pen or pencil would do to your book. The nice part about this solution is that now you're starting to make your magic books your own. You're inserting yourself into the process, which will definitely aid you as you study your magic books, and it will aid you later because when you come back to this book, it's very likely that you will have forgotten what you were thinking about before. So by jotting it down and putting it in there with a Post-it note, you're guaranteed that it will jog your memory as to your thoughts last time so you could pick up from where you left off. Speaking of picking up where you left off, another tool that is absolutely indispensable when it comes to studying your magic books is some kind of note-taking method. My preferred method is a notebook. I'm an old school pen and paper kind of guy, and I very much enjoy the process of physically putting my thoughts on a piece of paper. If you're going to go this route, I have a couple of suggestions for you. One is that you start each entry with the date and the subject. Could be the book you're reading, could be the sleight or trick that you're researching, but that way you'll know when you studied it and also what you were studying, so when you flip through, you can either look for a specific date or a specific subject. The other tip that I have for you on this is one that I originally read with Nick DeFott, and that is to buy cheap notebooks. If you spend a lot of money or have a fancy notebook, there's going to be the tendency to not want to write in it because you'll only want to put things that are really good ideas, and you won't know initially whether it's a good idea or not. And by the time you figure it out, you'll have lost the idea or lost interest in it. So to combat that, buy a cheap notebook or take one of those ones that you've gotten at a conference for free and make that what you write in. However, I don't want to leave out my digital friends. It's perfectly acceptable to use something like an Apple or Google Notes app. And in fact, I do that from time to time depending on the circumstances. The problem for me is that I don't feel like it's as much fun to go back and read through old digital notes as it is to go back through old journals. But the advantages are undeniable. You'll be able to search for specific topics or dates and find it quickly and easily. So if you use a digital note-taking app and you have suggestions, sound off down in the comments below. Regardless of what you choose to use to write down, capture your thoughts, ideas, and even intent. In fact, one of the most effective ways that I've found to use it is when you're thinking about buying a book or a trick, write down why you think you want it, where it might go in your act, and how badly it fooled you when you were watching the marketing campaign. That way, when you acquire this new piece of magic, you'll be able to rekindle that feeling that you had before you bought it after it's in your possession, and that will give you the motivation to practice, learn, and then perform it for other people so that they too can experience the same feeling. Whether you decide to make your notes digital or analog, the other thing that you can do is to create a practice journal. Write down the tricks that you either already do or want to learn how to do, because it's really easy to lose something that you've already read through and maybe even learned some of the work if you don't repeatedly perform it or practice it. One of my friends keeps a list of every trick he's able to perform by category or by prop, so that when he's in a situation where he needs to figure out something that he can perform on a moment's notice, he's got access to everything that he's learned. So consider the practice journal as a separate thing to the notes that you're taking, because I think it'll help you as it's helped me and my friends in performance situations. Obviously, all of this is intended to help you with your magic library, and if you're still in the process of building your magic library, as we all are, then consider the sponsor of this week's video, Don's Magic and Books. Don has helped countless erudite magicians build out their libraries by offering excellent and affordable magic books on his website. I'm going to drop a link down in the comments below, but definitely check it out to see what he has to offer. He's always getting in new books, whether that's actually new or new to him, because one of the things that he specializes in is getting rare or out of print books and then offering them at extremely reasonable prices with free shipping if you live in the United States and meet certain minimum thresholds. I'm a lifelong fan of Don, and I've purchased everything from out of print gems like The Magic of Brother John Hammond to modern self-working new books like Card College Light. Rest assured that no matter what kind of magic book you're looking for, your best bet is to shop with Don's Magic and Books. Another invaluable tool that I found in my own practice of studying magic books is to have a study group or accountability partner. Now, those are really fancy words, but the practice doesn't actually need to be that formal. You could just have a friend that you call and you talk over what it is you're reading or trying to learn. I'm blessed to have several of those friends, and it's always a big encouragement to me to call them and talk over the things that I'm learning and reading about, and often I'll get input from them about other tricks, books, videos, or other sources that might be relevant to what I'm trying to study. And of course, this works both ways, because not only will your friends help you to find new sources and new pieces of information, but you'll also solidify the lessons that you're learning by telling someone else about it. Several studies have shown us that when you teach someone else about what you're learning, you lock in the lessons for yourself, which is one of the reasons why I put out my newsletter, the Erudite Magic Digest, so that I can share with you the types of things that I'm reading and learning, and hopefully that will encourage some of you to proceed in those areas of study, but at the very least, it will help cement the lessons for me. Now, that's the casual approach to all of this, but there's also the more formal approach, which is to literally start or join a book club. Many magic clubs actually offer this to their members to go through a specific book over a specific period of time, and there's also Caroline Raven's online magic club, where they pick a book that they're reading and assign homework and then have a discussion about it. If that's your type of thing and you think that you thrive better under having more of a formalized process, then consider one of those options. But regardless of the method or formality that you choose, having someone to discuss your magic books with and report on your progress will be an invaluable tool in your belt. Finally, and I hope that I've saved the best for last, is to share with you a reading framework. I came across this while I was researching study methods, and it seemed to resonate with how I would want to study books and think it can help you. It's called SQ3R, and those letters stand for survey, question, read, recite, and review. This isn't specific to the world of magic, but here's how I think it breaks down for studying magic books. The first is the survey, and I always recommend this, that when you get a new book, flip through and decide if a trick sounds like it's appealing to you or would fit your criteria, and give it a little bit of a perusal. You don't need to read in detail, but just let yourself look over the pictures, what the effect is, and other larger details like this to see if it even merits your interest. The next step is to question. At this point, once you've identified a trick or two that sounds interesting to you, start asking yourself questions and then combine this with one of the tools that I suggested earlier. Ask yourself questions like, how would I use this? Where in my act might it go? Why do I want to learn this? How will this help me? Are there restrictions that I have or levels of sleight of hand that I'm comfortable with? So now you're priming your brain to look for answers as you begin to read, which, as you guessed it, is the next step. As you read through this, start to answer those questions that you outlined a second second ago. Write in your journal, take some post-it notes and slap it on there if you find other slights or references that you think might be applicable. Basically, you want to make connections with what you already know. And as you read through slights, visualize yourself performing those moves. The goal is to extract the most relevant information. The next step is to recite. So this is to try to bring the information into your own brain by putting it into your own words. So after you've read a certain sleight or a section of a trick, put it into your own words what might need to happen. And if you can, grab some of those props that I mentioned earlier in your physical space and try to walk through it, maybe without even looking at the page to see if you grasp exactly what has to happen. Start to walk through those sleights with your own hands and with those props. If new questions come out of this step, or as you're walking through those steps with the props in hand, you might come up with a different or alternate sleight. Be sure to write that down either on a post-it note or in your journal. Finally, the last R is to review. And you could see this one of a couple ways. This step is the ongoing one in my mind. Once you decide that you like this particular trick and you put in some of this other work of surveying, questioning, reading, reciting, put it down in your practice journal as a trick that you want to learn and then review it. Practice the moves and the routines over and over and over until you get them down and you feel comfortable enough to now start scripting what you're going to say as you prepare this piece of magic to show to an audience. And this might be the time that you start to compare how you are performing this piece of magic with how others are doing it. Go back to that friend group and ask them for feedback on either the script or the sleights that you're doing. Maybe set up a Zoom call or record yourself with your phone and send it out to people you trust to get some ideas of how you can make it work better for you. I hope that these 5 tools will be as helpful for you as they have been to me in my study of magic books. And of course, if you have other tips, put them down in the comments below because we could all benefit by hearing them. As always, my friends, I appreciate you watching. And until next time, keep reading.